Welcome back to Classics with Kelsey and Sarah, and this week we are talking about Least of All Saints by Grace Irwin, who is a Canadian author.
Yes. So this was a reread for me and
My first time.
And Sarah's first time. So we this is one of our more recent classics that we read. It was published in the 1950s. And the story itself is set in the 1920s. And so Least of All Saints is founded on a really unique premise. So this atheist, Andrew Connington, is looking for a profession. And so he decides, through a couple of unique circumstances, to become a minister.
Yes.
A minister of the Christian church, and particularly the Methodist church, in this case. And so he, it's really interesting how that comes about, because he is not a believer. And he never really actually lies about it to people, but he just has builds this life where everyone thinks he's just this amazing theologian and minister, and
because he decides he can give a better sermon, and because he gets really frustrated because he visits several churches and is like, I could do a better job defending the Christian faith and writing a sermon than this person can.
Right, yeah, because he sees value in the Christian faith in that it's good to it has the answers for social problems and things, and so he feels frustrated because the Christians he knows and the ministers he knows don't seem to be bringing it to its fullest conclusion of being life changing and society changing, and so he goes to seminary, and he actually does really well at seminary. He's a very intelligent person.
Yes. I think Grace Irwin did an incredible job with the characters. Just like, Andrew's a very endearing character, which is good because he could be very annoying and kind of a slap in the face, but he's just very endearing because he's seeking to do the best.
Right, and he's sincere in his own way.
And so, I mean, and all the other characters that she built just incredibly well. All the side characters are very vivid. And even though it's written in the 50s, set in the 20s, a lot of the characters' belief systems and stuff are very identifiable today. She has this one girl who's just about casting off inhibitions and auras and stuff. And I've actually met some people like that. And so it was I was like, I can identify people and philosophies today that were present even then, and I think some of that is just her character building was so good and so vivid that it's very easy to see the characters.
It kind of shows that things really don't change, and she was able to present some pretty good apologetic things in there too about there are so many people that are questioning the truth of the Bible and the historicity, and Andrew just kind of uses logic to refute that, and
which is funny because he doesn't believe in the truth of Christianity. He believes in some of the historical, so it's rather funny him defending some of the stuff.
Right, and so but the book does make the point that it's not all about what you know.
Yes.
It makes the point that there's a big difference between belief and unbelief. And it's not just like, oh, well, this stuff is true. No, you've got to know God. You've really got to know God and have that relationship with him and believe that he exists and that he came as our Savior. Yeah.
And I think one of the things that made Andrew so likable is some things like doing prayers and stuff is something he tries to avoid because he doesn't want to lie. And I think that's one of the things that made the book really readable is that he doesn't lie about things. He even gets a second pastor to do a lot of the ministering work. So he hit a crisis where he had to realize that all his intelligence is not enough to keep going. And that's really where the book takes a turn, and it makes a very powerful point and a really great story.
Yes, that's for sure. It's for sure. And so, it's a book that seems relevant today, and it's it's the first of actually 2 others, and I have read both of those others, book 2 and book 3 in the Andrew Connington series, and I think this one is probably the best, but the others were good as well.
Yeah, you'd have trouble reading this premise.
Mm-hmm. Yes, for sure. Yeah, and I guess does that? I think that about sums it up.
Yeah, I think the only other note, neither of us really cared for the romance side of this. I think that was the only part of it, and it's a very minor part of the book. I will say that, but one, it seemed fairly haphazardly thrown together, I think, for me, and obviously Andrew's not a believer, and the girl is, so that's but that was the only the not great part of it.
Right.
The writing was superb, and the storyline was phenomenal.
For sure, yes. And I encourage you to also check out other Grace Irwin novels too.
Yes.
She wrote one about John Newton that I'm really anxious to read, and I've heard is really good. So, yeah.
So that's all for The Least of All Saints by Grace Irwin. And next week we're going to talk about the last book we read for the year, which is The Five Little Peppers.
Yes, and how they grew.
Bye.
Bye.